So about a week ago, I decided to never spend a whole heap of money on a Duel Links box again, as it is simply just too expensive and doesn't get the same amount of viewership that it used to, meaning I don't really make back the money I invest into it. But then I found out Konami were releasing Manju, and I just knew I had to go in at least one more time, as this card is one of the cards I've always wanted to be released into Duel Links, basically above all others. I've been asking for this card in Duel Links for like 4 years or something now, whenever it was that Cyber was first introduced into the game, as to this day that deck is still my favourite deck type in Duel Links. Now the best part about Manju's release, despite how powerful it is and it essentially being just a power creep over 2 other ultras in the game, is that it was released as an SR rarity. So I figured I'd do just a little quick stream where I'd spend just a little bit of money to get myself 3 copies of this card. Surely it wouldn't be too expensive being only an SR. Right? We're not gonna get one? Not one? Oh my god. How is not showing up, dude? How? I'm gonna spend 150 on this box anyway. Does it count if I end the stream just because I had to end my life real quick? We are ending the stream after this click. One more mouse click and I can click the end of the stream button. One more click. That is it. And then we are done. We are going to bed. Fuck you. There's 2 in the box, chat. There's 2 more in the box. There's literally 2. Please. No. I'm not I don't want to click that button. I really don't. That's only a rare? Perfect. Alright, and there's the 3 times! We did it! Perfect! Alright guys, it's been a fun stream. I'm glad you enjoyed. Yeah. So the sad part about that ending is that as soon as the stream actually ended, I kinda went into the box further to get the 3rd copy, as I just couldn't help myself. But let this be a lesson to you guys, and a rather big reminder of just how bullshit it is to try and obtain cards in this card game compared to Master Duel. And also a reminder that this will likely be the very last box you see me spend a decent amount of money on, unless Konami actually changes something. So here's the deck list. Now before I go through the list, just a reminder that if you're enjoying any of the content you're watching or find any of it useful, to please drop a like on the video down below and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. I make a buttload of content on Duel Links and Master Duel, including free to play builds, meta stuff, memes, guides, basically everything, so if you're interested in any of that stuff, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. Alright, so first thing I want to point out, as although it sounds pretty sus after what you guys just witnessed in the intro, this deck is by far one of the cheapest competitively viable decks in the game. Literally excluding the extra deck, which you basically just don't use anyway, the deck only actually uses 1 card from a box, and that card is only an SR rarity. That's it. Every other card in here you can get without spending a single gem. All tickets, all card trader, and level up rewards. So what exactly has changed with this list compared to older builds? Well, there quite literally is only one brand new card. Manju. But don't be fooled. This edition is huge for the deck. So Manju is essentially a Sonic Bird, a Senju, or a Geese Chain, basically just combined into one, and therefore fills the same role that each of those cards used to perform in the list. This card on summon can search for any ritual spell or any ritual monster. This means this deck now essentially has 5 Petit Angels, only this one can actually search for Absolute Ritual as well. So the main benefit of this card is obviously the deck's consistency has drastically increased, but the other major benefit that I feel like people have just been overlooking is that with such a huge consistency boost to the deck, we can finally run actual tech cards without having to worry about just being additional bricks added to an already bricky deck. We can basically half the amount of ritual spells we used to be running in the deck, in place of cards like the Djinn Demolisher, which makes your Cyber Angels immune to all targeting effects, essentially giving this deck a proper turn 1, since 90% of decks in Duel Links will struggle to out an untargetable 3700 attack beat stick that's also immune to destruction thanks to its ritual spell. It also lets us run Merciful, which is an insane hand fixer for the deck, especially when combined with Benten, as this card just lets you draw 2 cards and shuffle 1 back into the deck, but at the cost of tributing 1 monster. So just tribute Benten and you just got yourself a nice little search bonus on top of fixing bricky hands, or just digging for a Demolisher. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the decklist portion of the video. The rest of the video will be gameplay with commentary showcasing the list in action. Remember, if you enjoyed the video or finding any of the content useful, to please drop a like down below and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. Enjoy the gameplay. Alright, let's get into it. So keep in mind, all these replays were gotten in Legend. It just happens to be the first of the month, so the season reset and it's currently showing Platinum, but all these games were in Legend when I got them. So with this deck list, I went 8 wins and 2 losses with this particular variant. I tried a few other side Rangel variants, but all of them felt really, didn't feel very good. The deck felt a lot better as soon as I added both Djinn and Merciful into the list. Both are really strong cards for this deck. Honestly, I feel like this deck it's gotten so much stronger now. I feel like it's easily going to be a King of Games rogue level deck. I'd love to see it in tier 3, but I doubt people will even give it a shot, so I'd like to see people try it in tournaments, but who knows. Even the tournament scene for Duel is kind of dead at the moment anyway, let's be honest. Anyway, let's get into the actual replays. Okay, so I actually had a lot of fun playing this deck. I know I love playing Side Rangel, so that was expected, but I didn't really expect them to be as good as they were. I thought the deck would be definitely better and a lot stronger, because Manju is a huge buff for the list. But there's so many decks in Duel Links that just can't get around Destruction at the moment, which I found really strange, because I think the last time I don't know what deck I was testing, but I was trying to test some Immune to Destruction thing the other day, and it just didn't work at all. But today, just having the Ritual Spell Engrave was so good. Alright, this guy is a prime example of it. So this guy was trying to play Cyber Dragon, and Cyber Dragon on turn 1 generally only have one play, and that is to set themselves a Cybernetic Overflow and just pray that's enough. But thankfully for our deck, we have Machine Angel Ritual, a ritual spell which in Graveyard can be used to banish itself to protect anything from destruction, or any of your light monsters. Alright, so standard combo, it's Ritual Summoning Idaten using Benten. This will give us a search for both a ritual spell and a light fairy monster, which by the way includes Manju. In this case we're searching for Dakini, summoning Petit, searching for another Idaten. Once again doing the exact same combo again, just because we can. Give ourselves another 2 searches. Another Idaten, and adding back a Machine Angel Ritual. Summoning out Dakini. Pretty sure I already had, so I've used 2 this turn, right? Wait, did I add this back to hand without having oh no, I had the second one's on board there. I was just making sure I kept one engraved in case he activated his trap card. Activating Dakini's effect, which allows me to make my opponent choose 1 card on board and send it to the graveyard. He activates his Overflow, obviously we're protected from that. I should probably also mention, if you Ritual Summon using Idaten as a material, everything gets all your Ritual monsters get a 1000 attack boost, hence we're now pretty stacked looking board. This deck is definitely a lot better going second than it is going first, because you can do shit like that, where you just try to go for some splurge your hand out OTK style. It's not, one of the main weaknesses of Cyber Rangel has always been it doesn't really have a good turn 1. At the moment it's kind of covered with these non-targetable indestruction kind of decks you've got on the deck to try to protect them. I found running back row doesn't really do a whole lot, or I don't know, if your deck gets taken out by 1 MST, that's gotta be an issue. So I think just trying to make a big boss monster turn 1, making it immune to targeting effects if you can, having a ritual spell engraved to protect it, is generally enough to try to somewhat keep him alive. Also of course using the skill that gives you the ritual cage, so you're protected from monster effects, is also pretty good. Alright, so Petit Angel, searching for whatever we searched for. Oh yeah, searching for a Benten, because this card is insane when combined with Merciful. So Merciful contributed, draw 2, shuffle 1, and then this card gets a search from deck. This gives us an Idaten. Same combo as normal, all seen it a billion times. Adding Dakini to hand, and searching for a Machine Angel Ritual. Generally, by the way, because you may have noticed that on turn 1 I chose to summon the Petit over summoning the Manju. Generally this is a good thing to do because on turn 1 you don't generally need a 1400 attack monster on board for any reason, and it's good to have the Manju in hand so you can summon it the next turn and get that 1400 attack beat stick, rather than next turn summoning a Petit Angel, which only has 300. Also, not to mention, Manju can search for both your ritual spells, whereas Petit cannot. So generally, if you're going first, not going first, it's generally, I guess going first, but you always want to summon Petit before Manju if there's no reason to summon the Manju, just summon the Petit instead. Also, it's important to note that having Petit engraved is necessary for if you want to use this ritual spell for summoning like Dakini or something, using this card and a Petit Angel. Because this card needs to be, unlike your, it's kind of hard to explain, unlike your other ritual spell, which it can be any level, this one has to be exact levels for the ritual summon. So if you're going to use this card as material, it needs a Petit Angel as well. You can't use Benten and a Manju, so it's good to have a Petit Angel engraved if you can get one in there. Summoning Dakini. Dakini during end phase gets to add back one of my boys from graveyard. Dakini can also add back Machine Angel rituals as well, but generally it's good to keep them engraved, obviously for their protection effect. Dude setting triple back row. Idaten, searching for ritual spell, adding Isna, and adding back the absolute ritual. Using the one on board, and like I said, the Petit engrave, we can then go into Isna. Given the 1000 attack buff, and Isna's effect goes off, which does the same thing as Dakini does, but for spell cards, and back row I mean. So my opponent has to now choose one of his back row and send it to the graveyard. And if my opponent activates one of the effects to target one of my cards, such as with the Book of Moon currently being used, Isna's effect will go off to then target his back row, or choose one of his back row cards, or any of his monsters on board for that matter, and pop it. And there's lethal. Alright, game number 3. Alright, so this was an actual Harvey player I think this time. This guy actually got to play some cards rather than just setting 52 back row. Alright. So again, using the Angel, Merciful Angel, discarding the Benten, and this time we got to dig for ourselves a Demolisher, which is insanely good versus Harpies. This card versus Harpy generally just wins you the game, because I know a good counter to Harpy used to be Lunalight. You just summon your Lunalight boss monster and your opponent will be like, oh, I can't really do anything against that. My deck's entirely targeting. So the main counter Harpy would have is they would add this one monster to their extra deck that could do non-target removal, but it's destruction removal. And for our deck, we obviously have ritual spells in graveyard that protects from destruction, so they have basically no out to it. If you can get Demolisher with one of your ritual monsters, you're just immune. There's like nothing they can do about it. They'd have to have things like, I don't know, some random back row would be needed. Manju searching for Dakini, Machine Angel Ritual, using the Dune hand, and there we go. End phase, ending back Benten. I find that adding back Benten during the end phase is generally better than adding back Idaten. In a normal Cyber Angel list, I would argue the other way around, but in a Cyber Angel list where you're running Merciful in the deck, I think it's better just to add Benten in case you draw that Merciful, because then you have a card to use it with, rather than just tributing this for the attack buff. You actually get a search, so I find it's a bit better. But there is an argument to be made for this card as well, for attack buff reasons or whatever, but I think Benten's generally the better of the two, to add back during end phase. Yeah, so opponent tries to do some stuff, has a Harpy's Hunting Ground in hand, pops the Ritual Cage, which would normally be kind of annoying, because now my stuff would be, you know, kind of vulnerable, but this card is currently immune to targeting effects anyway, so we don't care. I don't think he actually read what this card did, because he then just decides to try to return my stuff to hand anyway. It gives me back a Manju. I'm like, okay, Thanks for the free search, I guess. We drew another one. This was I don't know why, just gives us back the Manju again. At this point I think he's just desperate. Go to Ritual Summon our boy. And he already conceded. Alright, game number 4. Oh, this is a Vendra player, I believe. This is also our rank up game. Alright, so I had to play this a bit weirdly because I assumed this guy was playing, well, potentially playing another Cyber Angel mirror match. It was either that or Vendra. That's the only two people that play this kind of stuff, so I assumed it was that. It could have been, what's that new stuff? The one with, oh my god. I forgot the name of it. Either way, it doesn't matter. It was a ritual deck, and just in the off chance it was a Cyber Angel deck, I kind of played this a bit weirdly. So similar start that we always do, try to get the hold of the standard combo of Idaten with Benten and a ritual spell. Gives me the 2 searches. Give me the Dakini. And a Machine Angel ritual. And then we went all in. Summoning out my Dakini, and having a big fat boss monster on board, and keeping a 1,000 hands only. So like I could have used the 1,000 hands and the Idaten in hand to summon this guy, rather than using both Idaten. But in the situation where this might be a Cyber Angel player, I definitely want another monster on board, so we summoned Dakini. I can choose this one to send to the grave instead. And I also want this to have more attack than his potential Dakini as well. So I used double Idaten rather than keeping one in hand. It's a bit all in, and normally you wouldn't do this, but in this specific situation, yeah, just in case it was a Cyber Angel player, even if it's not that likely. It was much more likely to be Vendrid or Necros or something, but yeah. Thankfully, if it is a Necros, we have Ritual Cage on board, so he can't target us with monster effects anyway. This man forgot something pretty important. He decided to set a monster versus Cyber Angel Dakini. 4700 attack, we swing into a face down defense. Dakini actually gives piercing damage to all of your ritual monsters, so 600 defense, that ain't gonna cut it. Alright, final gameplay. This guy's playing DDD, I reckon. Let's go consistently, by the way. Like, this was only with like a 10 game sample, but look how consistently we're starting with this combo. Of having Floodgate Trapper and Manju, KW. But look at how consistently we're starting with the Idaten, the Benten, the Ritual Spell combo. Just because Manju was introduced. It's so consistent, it's ridiculous. It's basically every game. I don't know what the actual maths is behind it, but it's basically every game. This was a deck list we're only using 3 ritual spells too, I think, so it's pretty nuts. Alright, gonna be summoning, using the 2 of them to summon out Dakini. This is so that I could play around a potential another Floodgate Trapper, because if he had one, Floodgated my Dakini, because I could have used the Idaten on board for the attack buff, but if he had another Floodgate Trapper, it would have meant that I had no follow-up. Whereas if he had another Floodgate Trapper here, I still have my search, I would have added my other boss monster, and just used the Dakini on board. Instead though, he just had a Dark Contract, we could protect that, and instead search for 1,000 hands, rather than searching for Isna, which we could have just summoned using the Dakini as material. which then would have had still lethal on board. Unfortunately, this man is running Pendulum Reborn. Very cool. Sums out the T-pose himself. Which is a bit annoying, but it's not that bad. End phase, we add back the Benten. Again, tries to destroy it, we protect it so we can try to keep one monster on board, because if we keep either monster on board, the chances of us being able to get off another boss monster attack buffer is pretty high. Once again, getting the 2-card combo. Summon our Idaten, searching for our boss monster. Oh, sorry, searching for a Petit Angel first, because important to note, again, if we want to use cards in graveyard for material, we need to have a Petit with the, Absolute. Because, also important, we banished both our other ritual spells, so the only ritual spell we have left is the Absolute. And the only way to use this is if we have a Petit plus a level 6, or 2 level 4s, which I don't know if we had another Manju. We actually did have another Manju, so we weren't that desperate. But yeah, I wanted to use Petit, so we got a Petit to hand. That way we can normal summon it, or normal summon Manju, either one. Absolute, summon our Isna, use its effect, sending the trap card to graveyard. And yeah, there's lethal on board. Alright, that's going to do it for today's gameplays. I hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.